Welcome to What a Creep, the show with Margot Donahue and Sonia Mansfield talking about creeps from the past to the present.
This is your quick guide to the biggest creeps, jerks, assholes, and losers, the best of the worst.
From two nice ladies who want the world to be a little less creepy. Welcome back to What a Creep. This is Margot Donahue, and my cohort in creepitude, as always, is the amazing Sonia Mansfield. Hey, Sonia.
Hello, my friend.
Hello, my friend. We are the show that talks about creeps from the past to the present. Today's episode is about BSA, the Boy Scouts of America. It's going to be intense. We picked this one because it is going to be the subject of a Netflix documentary series. So we're going to kind of give you a big overview of why that's going to happen. But we always end the show with someone who's not a creep. So if this is your first time listening.
Yes.
Understand. We will end on a non-creepy note. You can follow us on Facebook. We have a basic Facebook page, but that's where people go to complain about our language. We use salty language in this program.
Yeah, fucking deal with it.
So you might, if that doesn't bother you, great. But if you want to interact with us, we are much more interactive in our Facebook group. And we talk about creeps in the past and the present there. We talk about news. We have people that are teachers that are posting their lists. We're helping them out.
I went in and already bought some stuff.
So did I.
For some of the teachers. Margot, you're a genius for asking people to do that.
That was from the Keith's Whispering Angels page.
Oh, okay.
So I just want to make they came up with the idea. So
okay, well, I love it,
but I think it needs to be done. I have friends that are teachers, and we got to help them out. So you do have to answer a few questions in order to join the What a Creep podcast group. You come on in. Don't be an asshole. It's going to be fine. We're on Twitter at CreepPod because somebody had What a Creep on Twitter for over 10 years and never used it.
Creep!
We're on Instagram and Threads, What a Creep Podcast, and we have an old-timey email, whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. And if you would like some stickers, send us your address, and wherever you are on the planet of Earth, if you're in Dublin, maybe Sonia should bring some stickers with her.
Ooh, maybe I should. That's a great idea.
You should look for her. That. So those are all the please send us your suggestions for creeps, also for non-creep, because we're always looking for suggestions there. That usually, sometimes that leaves us in a quandary, but I think we're good today.
Yes.
Sonia, do you want to tell them about the website? Sorry.
It is at whatacreeppodcast.com, and it's everything you ever wanted to know about our show. We're afraid to ask, I should say. The website hasn't been updated in a couple episodes because WordPress has been acting a little janky, but I am in the process of figuring it out. So please bear with me. But when you go in there, you can click on each episode, and in each of those episodes are show notes because we source every single thing we do. We're not making this shit up. We'd be super talented if we did. That was a very creative mind. It'd be super fucking creepy ass minds. No, we source everything we do, and we want to give them the credit for their work. We also have a merch shop where you can get t-shirts and tote bags and journals and face masks and all kinds of good stuff. Please check it out. Enjoy. There's also a link to our Substack page where you could sign up for our monthly newsletter.
And it's free.
It's free and includes like fun. It's updates on creeps, hints about what episodes are coming, and also our rec room where we share things that we're watching, reading, listening to, things we talk about on Dorking Out. So please sign up. And wait, there's more. We also have a Patreon page. You want to tell them about that, Margot?
Yes, Patreon, What a Creep Podcast. We use the money for just the basics for the show, for all those news organizations,
those sources, yes.
All those sources, plus the software for everything. So all of you that support us there, we do put out 2 bonus episodes a month, and we have seasons 1 through 8 up on that wall. I want to thank Kristen, who recently joined the Patreon page. We appreciate you. Thank you very, very much. What else is there, Sonia?
I think that's everything. That's a lot.
I think that's a hell of a lot. Let's go into it. We're going to be talking about the Boy Scouts of America. My first question for you, I forgot to ask you this.
Yes.
Were you ever a scout of any kind?
I was not, because I wasn't much of a joiner.
You were
So
very
no.
shy as a kid, right?
I was very shy as a kid. Yes, I would. So no, I have dated some Eagle Scouts in my day,
More than one?
at least two.
Wow. Because they are less than 4% of all the scouts. They're out there.
Yeah,
They're elite.
They're very good at tying knots. Just saying.
Whoa.
Hey,
What was
I'm
your safe
kidding.
word?
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Am I kidding? Maybe.
Maybe.
No.
I don't judge. You do you, boo.
Anyway, were you ever a scout?
I was a brownie scout.
Oh, brownies.
And I was really good at selling the cookies. And I was okay until it was my turn to bring the cookies. Like everyone had to bring cookies and juice. And my mother got oatmeal raisin cookies. And everybody had a fucking shit fit. And I even cried because everyone was so upset.
Okay.
And I was like, this is not for me.
I know.
I am not a joiner.
Look, I know that everyone there was like, your mom is a monster for bringing oatmeal raisin, right? I happen to love oatmeal raisin.
Me too.
I would have been like, more cookies for me, assholes. I would have ate all those cookies.
We had those little packets of oatmeal, and you just put hot water, and I put in butter and sugar and all kinds of crap. I ate that every morning. I loved it.
Yeah.
So I didn't understand, but they were like, seriously, not oatmeal. Did Margaret bring that? I'm like, ugh, whatever. But both of my brothers were Cub Scouts, and I'm not sure if my sister was into it at all, but it is a very popular organization that's been around for over 100 years. And let me just give you this preamble. The Boy Scouts of America, BSA, is a highly respected youth organization with a long-standing history of over 100 years. Many renowned Americans, such as Steven Spielberg, Neil Armstrong, Gerald Ford, and Mike Bloomberg, were all Eagle Scouts themselves. One of my very good friends of mine, her son achieved the rank of Eagle Scout in the last year, and it is less than 4% of those that are Scouts. It is a very high honor. Their motto is do a good turn daily, and its influence on American culture is significant. You don't see Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts in movies very often. They use some phony baloney name quite often because they're making fun of camp culture. They're very aware of their image. This is important to keep in mind. They have the funny thing though is they did allow The Sopranos to have a restaurant scene that was full of Cub Scouts.
What it's a talk about you want to control your image, but you're like the mob show. That's great. The super violent mob show. Meanwhile, Troop Beverly Hills is like so delightful,
and they should have been okay with that,
right?
Okay. Nevertheless, there have been several scandals within the BSA, and numerous individuals feel that the organization has not handled these situations appropriately. That I will let you know. Yeah. In today's episode, we will explore these issues in depth. I do want to give in depth. I'm not going to die. I'm living forever.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope not.
We do have a content warning, though. We are talking about sexual abuse and grooming. Sources for this episode. And once again, it's on our page. Also, if you swipe the artwork, you should be able on your phone.
Yeah. Listen to the trigger warnings, y'all. Be prepared.
Yes, this is. I'm not going to get gruesome, but you do have to speak about things.
Yes.
CNN, Washington Post, USA Today, Reuters, Bloomberg, the Boy Scouts of America are restructuring.org. We'll get to that. NPR, New York Times, CBS News, LA Times, which has done a lot of really great work for a long time. They've been on this case. NBC News, New York Daily News, New York Post, because believe it or not, Sonia, there was a troop number 666 in New York City that had a lot of issues.
The only troop I would have been interested in.
The hard rock goth chick in me would love that. But it's typical of the New York Post to really exploit that part of the story.
Of course.
And it's horrible. Also, there's a link to the Today Show. So the Boy Scouts began in the early part of the 20th century. The American America became less of an agriculture society and farms and things like that, and much more of modern technology. Cities got more popular, and people were moving there to get the jobs and stuff like that. And people were worried about scouting is all about, and you and I are not campers, so this is
No, that's gross. Don't be gross.
But people like Teddy Roosevelt thought, we're ignoring these beautiful places, and they need to be protected. And one way we can do that is encourage the youth to go camping, to go on,
Yes, absolutely,
and enjoy the beautiful outdoors. I don't want to be an asshole. I do love going to the mountains, and
I love the outdoors. I'm not a monster. I just don't want to sleep out there.
No,
that's all.
That's all. That's all. But some people
I want to use a bathroom, and I want to sleep in a bed. That's all. The rest of it is great.
It's amazing. And Teddy Roosevelt was one of those presidents that was really interested in, first of all, creating organizations in the government to protect all these lands, but also they need a youth movement. He was all about virility and masculinity and getting out there and getting air in your lungs and, murdering indigenous people and all that other stuff that he was really into.
Let's kill some animals.
Let's do it. Yeah, but that was the thinking, like, in order to keep a lot of it, like we hear about now, like it's keeping men, making men manly, is having them men. What of us? It's having them start at kindergarten level, basically, and right through up high school. And you learn all kinds of things about the outdoors, but also about good citizenship. They also, they put this is all set for the Mormons here. They're all about family and faith and the government, the country, putting yourself out there, helping your neighbor, doing good deeds. Do it because it feels good and it's the right thing to do. All really nice things, by the way. I mean, I'm totally on board with that. And when you're a scout, you get these sashes and then you earn your badges. Badges, we don't need badges. Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And they have their fundraisers and things like that, but they've always done very well corporately. Corporations were fine, supporting the Boy Scouts of America. They were officially the World Organization of the Scout Movement in 1922, but it's around 1919 that they started. And there's Learning for Life, Cub Scouts, there's Exploring, there's Sea Sounds of people who want to be on the water, and there's your Eagle Scouts. You can also be, and this is what we're going to talk about, they needed leaders. Because, you could find 10 kids, but who's going to take care of them away from their parents?
Who wants to hang out with 10 kids? Gross. No, I'm kidding. There's a lot of people that are excellent at that, including teachers.
Absolutely. We love teachers. And we do like people who like working with kids. And I'll say this, and I've talked about this before, but I'll say it very quickly. I used to work for the YMCA, and they had us take these courses about child sexual abuse because we had camps on site. There are a lot of kids I live in Brooklyn, where they don't have a gym at their school. So the kids can come to the Y and work out. So we just had to know what to look for. The Boy Scouts didn't seem to, well, we'll talk about the Boy Scouts. But let me just say, they gained in popularity. They're around the world. They're scouting all across the world. Once again, most people are great. Most people don't hurt kids. Most people have good intentions. I don't want to set this too bleak of a picture. But when we're talking about the Boy Scouts, they hired in the 70s, especially 60s into the 70s. So when the baby boomers had started having their babies, they threw them into scouting. And it became very popular in the 70s. And they had to hire a bunch of people to work with the kids. Now, this is an organization that it's like, ew, girls, no girls allowed. No homosexuals, because God. No atheists, because God.
Because God.
So women can work like to help a man, behind the scenes or during a troop meeting, but she can't be the leader. It's very much set up a patriarchal system.
Yuck.
Look, we grew up with this shit in the 70s. Like, it's just, how it was. And somewhere around the 1980s is when kids started more. There was the Satanic Panic. If there's one good thing about the Satanic Panic, if I could say, it did.
It's the music. It's the music.
Yes. Oh my God, you're right. God damn it. That's where Ozzy comes from. Look, it made people start to talk about abuse with kids. Mm-hmm. And it's not just about parents being a little strict or whatever, like that, and the abuse of children is something like they say, kids don't lie. We need to listen to kids. The Satanic Panic, though, had such crazy pants stories.
Yes.
That pretty quickly, it took a few years, but they definitely started dipping and people didn't talk about those. So then when people started bringing up that kids are being abused at these scout meetings, they're like, oh, it's just like that Satanic Panic.
Yes.
It's, whatever. So around the 1980s, there's like I said, there's this rise of incidents that are happening in the troops. And basically, the overall counsel was keep everything within the local, keep it in check. You always know who the mayors are, who the police are, who are the reporter. Like, they're very good about knowing where they are. And if there's a problem, they can kind of squash it.
So it's more about protecting their rep.
Exactly.
Okay.
In 1988, the Boy Scouts of America started adapting language about how to handle child sexual abuse, like what you're supposed to do if somebody says something to you, how do you report it? They had a 2 deep leadership criterion, so 2 adults have to be with a kid. I know for me, like, we're also taught, like, you can't have 3 kids together alone because they can gang up on. It's
there's
all kinds of shit that happens. And these are some other things. They're telling people now. This is 88. They had to tell people this. You have to respect the privacy of the youth members. There's no one-on-one contact, so you don't go away with a kid or bring them to your home. 2 deep leadership. You're not allowed to have secret organizations because groomers like to keep things secret.
Yes.
Constructive discipline. No, you can't beat kids. No, you can't haze them. I mean, yes.
By the way, fraternity should still probably have these conversations. Just saying.
Yeah, no shit. But they didn't have criminal background checks. They did not have criminal background checks for scout leaders until 2008.
Y'all can't see this, but
she's in shock.
I'm doing the like shrug, like the emoji, like what, like how, that's some like bare minimum shit right there. Run a background check on the people that are like, you're letting these people go into the woods with your fucking kids. Like, let's run some background checks. Bare minimum.
Bare minimum. If you're going to call all the references and have people take drug tests and all this other crap, like, find out whether or not they've abused kids. Find out whether or not they're on a predators list or something. In 1991, the Washington Times, and I can't believe I'm quoting the Washington Times in this show, but they actually had a series of 5-part investigation, and it was called Scouts Honor, and it was about sex abuse in the BSA. And they spent 2 years. This is why you do have to pay journalists, because but they spent 2 years talking to people in 20 states. They went through more than 200 people, and they found out that there was massive problems. They said the Boy Scouts are a magnet for men who want to have sexual relationships with children. Pedophiles join the Scouts. Pedophiles join the Scouts for a simple reason. It's where the boys are.
Damn. Right.
And it turns out that people have been talking to them about, but the Boy Scouts tend to be like, oh, it's a few rotten apples and we're really buttoning up, blah, blah, blah. But since then, they started getting lawsuits, and they found out there's a thing at the organization that they called the ineligible volunteer files. This started in 1919 when they found someone that they didn't think would be eligible or should be a part of the group, right? 231 scout leaders were banned for misconduct between 1975 and 1984. And they didn't tell the parents, and they didn't tell,
Wow.
the perversion files. There were 50 lawsuits that were, that because of this series, there were 50 lawsuits that happened right away. There's been over 350 men banned between 71 and 86. And they just gave a little bit of the files, of the perversion files. But then we go to 2010. We'll just hop to 2010. And the Boy Scouts are really kind of hostile about it. Like they didn't, this was not the publicity they want.
No, of course not.
But Kerry Lewis, and this is Lewis versus the Boy Scouts of America. He's based in Oregon. And he said that he had a scout leader who molested him and several other boys in his troop. And they tried to get help, and the person that did it confessed to it, and they didn't fire him, and he kept doing it.
Why would they not fire him?
They don't want the bad publicity. So
they would just rather it just keep happening than deal with any kind of PR.
This happens in companies all the time, and I've done crisis communications. You have to handle things quickly. Honestly, like you do have to do something. You can't just say you're going to do something, but you need to, my always thing was always like, things need to be fair and accurate. If you're fair and you're accurate, I can handle it. It's when people lie. If they're telling you you're doing something wrong, you need to stand up and say, we didn't understand. We didn't know. We're going to fix this. It stops now.
Yes.
That's how you handle bad PR. That's how you handle bad, a crisis.
Yes.
So he goes to court, and the jury was so disgusted by the scouts and the way they tried to muzzle him. Yeah. And I'll talk more about ways they did that. They awarded him $18.5 million in punitive damages. One person.
Wow.
And let's just say they freaked the fuck out.
Yeah, because this has probably happened to a lot of kids, and a lot of people are going to start coming forward. And
you're right, Sonia.
That's a lot of money. Yeah.
So it says that since 1919, they had to release they only released some of the folders. They were ordered by a court to release all the folders. And it turns out there was 20,000 pages of material.
Jesus.
Of reports, of problems, of kids coming, parents coming to them, their scout leaders in trouble with the law, arrested for things. And some of them get fired, and some of them don't get fired. And these are volunteers, by the way. It should not be that hard to fire a volunteer.
No, exactly. It's like, we don't want you to volunteer anymore. You're not even really firing them. It's no thanks, right?
Yeah.
It's not you're fired. It's no thanks.
They had There was a few times over the years when they were brought up, like there were reporters that called, and this was in the 70s and 80s, saying we've heard some stories, and the scouts always, just like I said, they have the police, they have the mayors, they kind of like clamp things down. But let me fast forward just a little beyond this is one of the biggest members of the Boy Scouts over the years, and I mentioned the Mormons before, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Yes. They were a huge population, and it always stayed popular. It kind of dipped in popularity now compared to what it was in the 70s and 80s. But with all these lawsuits that are filed, that was going on with the Boy Scouts, also at this time, the Boy Scouts were starting to say, like, well, maybe we'll let gay kids join. Maybe we'll have girls join as well. Maybe we don't have a problem with trans kids coming and wanting to be a part of our scouts. And the LDS people were like, peace out. We're going to do our own scouting organization, which was a big deal because it was like immediately 20%
right
that were gone. I want to talk about, this is from a story in the Los Angeles Times in 2012 when they were fined for $18 million and they had to release. Turns out they've been going to court many times over the years for shit. When a lawsuit alleged that two young brothers in Michigan, this is from the LA Times, Kim Christensen, had been molested hundreds of times by a troop leader, the Boy Scouts denied responsibility and pointed the finger at someone else, the boy's recently widowed mother. Because if it's not one thing, it's your mother. The Scouts faulted the woman for her failure to provide adequate parental supervision, suggesting in court papers she was responsible for any harm to her sons.
So they allowed a volunteer,
yes,
who molested her children,
and they blamed her for it.
And it's her fault that they hired someone who sure, totally. It makes perfect sense.
The misogyny here is just off the charts, and they hired like these shark lawyers, and it's like, what kind of skirt were you wearing? You know, that's why you got or were you drunk that got that boy's attention? Like, it's doing the same thing to mothers and parents.
Yes.
They should have done a better job watching their kids. Not us saying we will watch your kids when they're with us.
Literally their thing is, we will take your kids and like go on these camping trips and teach them these things, and she's not even there.
It's
so she's neglectful for letting her kids sign up for the Boy Scouts.
Do this a lot, especially in show business, where you find out a kid was abused and then people yell, the parents, where were the parents? I'm like, they're not everywhere with that kid 24 hours a day. It's the people abusing them that you need to be mad at.
Right.
Don't make excuses. Don't,
So the Boy Scouts lawyers are so gross that they're like, it's your fault for letting your kids join the Boy Scouts. Of course they were going to get molested. What were you thinking?
Yes. That was their, yes. Somebody wrote, the day their dad died, the perpetrator began to befriend the boys. Then the Boy Scouts turn around and file a paper saying mom was the problem.
And shitty.
And this is the thing with groomers, is they look for the kids that are sad. They look for the kids that seem lonely. They pick prey. I mean, that's what you do.
Yes.
And so they get into people's confidence. They become the heroes of the family. They'll be the ones that come in with money for the con ed, or they'll pick up the kid and take him home, and you have to work an extra shift. And then you're like, oh, what a great guy. Gary. Gary's a great guy. He's helping us.
That's grooming. That's what grooming is.
This was also from the article. The knives are out, and you better get your knife out, because if you don't, they will tear you to shreds. This is Timothy Hale, who represented Santa Barbara County teenager who was abused in 2007 at the age of 13 by volunteer scout leader Al Steven Stein. Stein had a history of inappropriate behavior with children, but a local scout official tried to keep the boy's mother from reporting the abuse to police, according to the teenager's lawsuit. She did anyway, and Stein later pled no contest to felony child endangerment. An Oregon man's lawsuit alleged that the scout allowed troop leader Timur Dykes, that's what we were talking about before, to continue in the group after he admitted at molesting 17 boys in the early 1980s. Jesus. At the trial, Scouts regional officer Eugene Grant faulted parents for letting their sons go to Dyke's apartment for merit badge work and sleepovers. His parents should have known better, said of one victim. I think it's criminal. The jury rejected that assertion. That's why they gave the $18 million judgment, because they're like, fuck you. This is bullshit.
Seriously, fuck you.
In 2002, Gerald Schwartz, a 42-year-old former scoutmaster in New York, admitted abusing a boy in his troop in the 1990s. And we have to talk about there's a, what's it called when you have a certain amount of time to...
Statute of limitations.
Statute of limitations. Thank you. That's changed in the last couple of years. But it used to be like, well, you got 5 years. Oh, well, too bad.
Mm-hmm.
In 2002, a 42-year-old scoutmaster in New York, this is for the Troop 666, admitted abusing a boy in the troop after being secretly recorded saying he did something very, very wrong and apologized to the boy. Schwartz pleaded guilty to 4 counts of sodomy and was sent to prison. Despite the conviction in the victim's testimony that Schwartz raped me and forced me to perform oral sex on him, the Scouts, in a motion to dismiss a subsequent lawsuit, contended that the sex was consensual. I mean...
Fuck you. Fuck you.
To argue that an adult Scoutmaster in their 30s have consensual sex with a 13-year-old in his troop is something dreamed up by pedophile heaven, attorney Michael Bowd said. This is, I mean, that's just, those are some of the tactics that were used. This is another one I have to, I'm sorry, I got it, but one of the, in at least one local case, Scout leaders faulted the victim and defended the perpetrator. They threw my son under the bus, said the father of a Florida Scout who was 12 when a 6-year-old Scout lured him into a tent and molested him in March of 2007. The boy was so traumatized he couldn't talk about it for months. When he did speak up, the Scout leaders accused him of lying.
Such bullshit.
He is quick to make up stories, the troop merit badge counselor Chuck Jansen wrote in a 2-page memo supporting the assailant, who later admitted to the sexual assault in a plea deal.
You just earned the "you're a trash monster" badge. Fuck these people.
I mean, it's fuck these people. It's just, I'm gonna go through just a couple more just to give you an idea. Sorry, we'll do an ad break
it's okay.
there.
I think that we should, this is a lot of kids.
Yeah.
And you're hearing a lot of numbers and a lot of stories. And I think it's just, I'm taking a moment to think about that these are children, like individual children whose lives are now
harmed.
They have this fucked up trauma for the rest of their lives. And it's not nothing. It's not like, well, they'll just get over it, or it's just so fucking sad. It makes me angry.
Well, but the Scouts said that when they released the perversion files in 2012, the Scouts are safer because those files exist. While we respect the court, we are still concerned that the release of 2 decades worth of confidential files into public view, even with the redactions indicated, may still negatively impact victims' privacy and have a chilling effect on the reporting of abuse. You can't make this shit up. It's just, I'll just be really quick. There's just many cases around the country, specific cases in Boulder, Colorado, St. Petersburg, Texas, Santa Barbara, Maryland, Haverhill, Massachusetts, Orem, Utah, Birmingham, Alabama. All of these places that had, people were sued, people were arrested, people were thrown in. So there is a big collective that had a lawsuit against the Boy Scouts of America, because that's how you can't have like a million trials. You want to have right. So there is a $2 billion, I should say by now, by the way, by the year of our Lord 2020, more than 80,000 people came forward with claims of childhood of sexual assault. 80,000.
I'm actually thinking about how they pushed against releasing those files. But if their lawyers arguing that mother should have known better, isn't that an argument for releasing those files?
Yes.
So that parents can make educated decisions about whether or not to send their children to Boy Scouts?
There's a huge lawsuit. It's $2 billion. And
damn, that's a lot of money.
It's sending a message, but it's 80,000 people.
Yeah, it's
So let's talk again. Yeah. We'll go back to a previous episode where we were talking about the rock club, which the band Warrant played in Rhode Island.
Yes.
Yeah, they got money in a big judgment, but who gets how much? And then you have to prove your trauma. So there's a judge the Boy Scouts had to file for bankruptcy. And then they have a couple of insurance companies that were forced to cover the costs. They now have to figure out, so there's 80,000 claims, and there's one judge that's in charge who gets what. And I think the minimum payment is $3,500 and the max is $2 million.
Yeah. How do you decide that?
How do you decide that? I don't know.
Your trauma's not as bad as their trauma.
Well, they had a reporter from USA, not, I'm sorry, Today's Show, who interviewed the judge that's in charge of it. And she says, like, how do you decide, how much trauma it is for, this many hours and versus how many times? And the judge is like, okay, that's a loaded question, but I will take that on. And then answered like the best she possibly could. Like, we're going to be up night, we're going to be upset. You want to do the right thing by everybody.
Yeah.
But they have this huge catastrophic judgment against them. They need to figure their shit out. So they've taken a better stance since then, and they are no longer blaming victims. I think they have people that are writing op-eds. I've seen a couple of op-eds saying, like, how do we know there were 80,000 people? Are you going to interview 80,000 people? Are you going to... Right, exactly. I mean, if 2% are lying, do I give a fuck? I mean, the overall truth.
And also, why are people... Yes, people love to lie about their sexual abuse. Fuck these people.
I mean, honestly, yeah, fuck them. They now allow kids, they allow girls to join, or people identify, or non-binary people, or trans people, or homosexual. So that, of course, that's why the LDS Church was like, no thanks.
Right.
But the LDS Church has definitely their own problems, and they started their own scouting, and I'm not going to be shocked if we hear,
right,
there's going to be stuff. But there's things that happened in Utah and
right,
very Mormon.
So
Mormon communities.
So the Boy Scouts allow gay people to be scout leaders now?
Yes, technically
they do. Okay.
But that was a big one. And Rick Perry of Texas, remember the Governor Rick Perry?
Yes.
He had a big problem with that.
You mean Rick Perry from Dancing with the Stars?
Rick Perry, who was allegedly very, very drunk when he was doing some of his interviews. I mean, just not the best contender, but...
Trump's defense, what was he? The Secretary of Energy or something like that? He's
one of the deplorables.
And then he's from he's on Dancing with the Stars.
And Sean Spicer did Dancing with the Stars. I stopped watching them. Because fuck them.
Fucking normalizing these assholes.
Yeah, so that's kind of it. I mean, I wish I had a more upbeat ending. Like I said, I encourage you when the Netflix, if you want to learn more, if you watch the Netflix documentary, but it's intense. I mean, it's a lot of abuse. I think what's important is that, we this culture that we have right now of a certain segment of the culture attacking trans people and drag queen performers as groomers. And it's these mom and pop apple pie nice guys that are.
Yeah. I continue to, see headlines about people that are not drag queens molesting children. I'm like, you're not looking in the right place. I feel like they're purposely trying to distract us from the real perpetrators. It's fucked up.
It's fucked up. I mean, it's up there with the Catholic Church, but there's it's the biggest case of child sexual assault in any organization.
And it's just it's so fucked up because so many kids sign up for the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts or any of those to because they want to join, they want to be with other kids, they want to feel accepted, and there's also just the thing, like you mentioned, that with the mother and the husband had passed away, those boys probably wanted a male role model in their life, and they were taken advantage of, and
it's like, it doesn't happen to single mothers. We love to demonize single mothers for not doing their jobs, but it's also some kids just grow up with two parents, two-parent home, but they're not great parents. And this is their one spot where they can feel they can shine, they can be comfortable, and be around somebody that's a mentor.
Yeah.
And for someone to take advantage of that,
it's fucking terrible, and it makes me so angry because children look to us to protect them, to keep them safe, and to teach them, and people take advantage of that, and it makes me really fucking angry.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna pull my shit together.
Yes.
Yes. I'm gonna pull my shit together. I'm not gonna cry on the microphone again. Do you want to hear about some organizations that aren't creepy?
Please.
Okay. I found a couple of Boy Scout alternatives.
Nice.
So one is called the Navigators USA, actually based in Brooklyn.
Nice.
Yes. They were founded in 2003 and they have a promise. They're like, they have a moral compass. And it says, as a navigator, I promise to do my best to create a world free of prejudice and ignorance, to treat people of every race, creed, lifestyle, and ability with dignity and respect, to strengthen my body and improve my mind to reach my full potential. They want to protect our planet and preserve our freedom, and they don't use freedom in the like shitty freedom kind of way. They mean it like in a good way.
Yeah.
This was a direct like breakaway from the Boy Scouts. There was a Boy Scouts of America in East Harlem, like Boy Scout Troop 103. They like broke away from the Boy Scouts and started their own thing, which is Navigators USA. They formed now 20 years ago. They have more than 40 chapters across the country. They have broken it up by like ages. So it's like 7 to 10. And then they have like 11 to 18. And it, by all accounts, sounds like a great org. So that's one. And then this one I forgot about, Campfire.
Campfire Girls.
Campfire Girls. Now you could be Campfire Boys too. Like this one was founded in 1910 in like Kansas City, Missouri. And now like they're all inclusive now. Like it used to be just girls. Now it's boys and girls. And they have this like what they call their Wohelo centric, and it's called Work Health Love Youth Organization. They like multicultural, no religion. That's their focus. They have their badges. They do all the same kind of stuff that like the Boy Scouts do. And we didn't really talk about the Girl Scouts, but I don't really know that much. The Girl Scouts are not really related to the Boy Scouts. Is that correct?
Right. They're based in Savannah, Georgia. It's its own thing.
Okay. So anyway, there's like 72 councils of Campfire nationwide, and they have all kinds of different programs too. So they have like out of school programs. So those are like after school programs. Then they have like teen service and leadership ones where they like go out and do like charity work, nonprofit work, like work in their communities. And then they have like environmental things. And that's where you're like doing the outdoorsy camp stuff. Environmental education, all that kind of stuff. And former Campfire Girls, I just wanted to mention some, because now it's all inclusive, but it used to be the Campfire Girls. Some of the alumni were Dianne Feinstein, Lady Bird Johnson, Elizabeth Warren, love her. Christy Brinkley was a Campfire Girl.
Who doesn't age, by the way. She is an alien. That woman looks, I follow her on Instagram. Yes. She has the best life.
Yes. And Madonna was a Campfire Girl.
No, I bet she was rad. I bet she was very stylish and naughty.
Yes. So she probably was. She taught all the other girls how to kiss or something. But anyway, that's two alternatives to the Boy Scouts if you're looking for stuff. And of course, you can always like check out your YMCAs and they have stuff too. Your Boys and Girls Clubs of America have things like that too. Your Parks and Rec departments in your whatever state or city you're in here in the United States anyway, have really great summer camps. Calvin goes to a lot of really great summer camp. My son Calvin, if you're a first time listener, is 11. He goes to all kinds of great camps here in the San Francisco County. So they're out there.
They are out there.
You might have to do a little digging and do a little research and read up, do some Googling, I know it can be a little time consuming, but there are good organizations out there and there are good people out there that like legit care about kids and want them to grow into decent human beings. So Those
Amen
are
to
our
that.
non-creeps.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I just want to clear up. It's the settlement altogether was just upheld by a judge a few months ago. It's $2.46 billion.
Damn.
And there's almost 90,000, over 80,000 men that are in. I mean, it's overwhelming. It
is overwhelming. I'm glad this isn't being recorded it is being recorded. I mean, video wise, because you guys would all see that, like, this is overwhelming to me a little bit. It's very upsetting. But again, there are really good. Look for the helpers, right?
Look for the help. Most people are good and kind and not assholes. That's that's our motto.
Yes, and that's what we're doing here on What a Creep. We just want the world to be a little less creepy.
That's we're doing the Lord's work. Let's change the subject and talk about Dorking Out, which is our other podcast.
Yeah.
We dork out about movies there, and Sonia, I think our next one's going to be really popular with people for what we're gathering.
I asked in the What a Creep group for suggestions, and we got a huge list, by the way, so thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I wrote them all down because we love it when you give us requests. So I picked Center Stage as our movie, and people have lost their goddamn minds. And I love it. I love it so much. So we are going to be talking about Center Stage. Last week we did The Blues Brothers, which was very fun.
That was so fun.
I went down like a whole Dan Aykroyd rabbit hole. It was a delight. So, so please listen to our Center Stage episode. I think it's going to be really fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, we are looking forward to your suggestions for creeps and non-creeps. You like how I did that?
Please.
Woo! Please send us your suggestions. All those social media places I mentioned at the top of the show. We love it when you use the Annie Potts gift. We got one from Ghostbusters to announce it, or you can be clever, do whatever you want. Our email, once again, whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. And if you would like some stickers, let me know. We'll drop them in the mail for you. Sonia, where can they find you?
You can find me at thesoniashow.com, where I am writing.
Yes, you are.
What? And you can find me on at the Sonia Show on all the social media. So Twitter, as long as that's a thing, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all the places, Threads. Where can people find you, Margot?
You could find me at Brooklyn Margot for Twitter, and also I think TikTok for my name, but I also post some shit on TikTok. I'm on Threads and Instagram, and my site is Brooklyn Fit Chick. Am I missing anything, Sonia?
I think that's it.
All right. I am going to go out and meet friends for drinks. I'm probably going to have an extra one.
Yeah, I'm getting ready I'm going to have a happy hour here. I'm ready.
All right, everybody. So in the meantime, be safe, be kind. Don't be a creep.
Be a creep. Thank you for listening to us talk about creeps. You can follow us at What a Creep Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
But don't follow us too closely.
You can email us your creepy stories at whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com.
But please keep your dick pics to yourself.